Good morning. So the case that I read for our video journal 3, Trauma-Informed Play Therapy, was Antony, who is a Hispanic child, 9 years old, and was referred for treatment by the social worker due to physical sexual abuse, neglect, but his predominant issue at the time was aggression. As I read this, it was hard. There was a lot of different things that I thought. First is, how can someone do this to a child? And because mom was struggling with drug dependence and had multiple children with different people at varying ages, it was a hard read. It was awkwardly informing, because I'm sure that this is not the only case and that there are many others that come up like this, but it made me very sad and upset that this could ever happen to somebody. And then, of course, the realization, like I said, that it does happen more often than it should, for varying reasons. So Antony is now in a foster home because he was taken away from his mother, which at first when I read this, I'm like, man, that's hard too. But at the same time, it's going to be something that happens and should happen for the safety of the child. But it still is, I don't know, challenging and disheartening to hear that he has to be taken away from his mom, but it is for the best. As I read the information and the case itself, I think it would be hard for me to work with children until I fully could emotionally understand how this happens, and to have that, I don't know, first understanding that it is actually something that does happen more often than not, and that it is not, is unfortunately going to continue. It was just really hard overall to think that you would do something like this to a child, or have any sort of anything that this child has to go through any part of this. I don't really understand. It's hard for me to take in. So as the author describes the therapy, the beginning part of treatment was the most unremarkable, in the sense that there was quite some time where nothing was happening, at least as we could see. She was able to observe him as he comes to play, although there was not necessarily a lot of play at the beginning. He would prefer to read books and more or less isolate, not interested in having any kind of conversation. He didn't talk for a while to her at all during sessions. He did listen to music, read books, until one session when it was the more or less beginning of the work that they could do, and this is after 4 months. And he came in for a session and was very upset with his current foster care mother, because this was not the real mother, it was her sister, since his foster care mother had been hospitalized. And all the emotions that came into that was really the opening door for the therapy to begin verbally. Non-verbally, of course, there were some things that were able to be used, but not all the way. So he was very upset by this, and it was able for him to move forward. Him to move forward and her to assist him in how to manage and hear some of the things that he was struggling with. As they went on, she was able to do more. She did take some risks, which showed to be beneficial in this particular case. She also would play games with him. He indicated a time that he had never received a new game, which was very monumental. There was also some times when he would find puppets to help tell a story that he created on his own, which is obviously parallel of many other things that he was struggling with in his life. She introduced feeling cards, which I thought was awesome and a great way to help introduce it. And I really liked the fact that she made that new for him to open as well, so that it would bring more feelings for him, but in the positive, because he got to open those cards, since that was something that he hadn't experienced, especially when he was with his mother. I think the part of treatment, as I mentioned earlier, that would be so challenging for me would be the nonverbal, the non-communicative, or the nonverbal. I mean, I have no problem looking at how people are reacting to certain things, but to just sit there, I would think takes a great deal of patience. And it's almost uncomfortable in silence sometimes, and maybe that's uncommon, I don't know, but I would struggle with that. I would want to do something, and you can't sometimes, and I know that, but just to have to sit there and wait for the child to be ready, and assisting the best you can and prompting as much as you can, but if they're shut down, and you have to give them time, and they have to feel comfortable and safe. And I think I would very much struggle with that. However, on the other side, I think I would have no problem with working with the play. I would be very interested to see what is depicted from the play, and what comes up in therapy as they tell you what has happened or how they're working with things. And I can think that when you move through, you hear about how he's joined the soccer team and his grades are better and he's making these strides. He has a great connection with his foster mom, and all of that to be able to help him move forward that would be amazing, and that would really make it all worth it. But I do worry about how to get through the beginning part, to just sit there in some cases, just because I've not worked with that before. I did think that it was interesting when he came in, they were focused on one form of treatment at the time, because it was for aggression towards others as the original reason for treatment. They didn't tap into the trauma, which makes perfect sense. I just found it's interesting. Obviously it surfaced, but I think it's a very clear reminder that you do it when people are ready, and you work with what's on the surface. And as we saw in sessions, I loved the letter that she suggested he write to his mother, and I actually really enjoyed hearing the process that he went through with that, until simply hearing from his mother, and then him having to respond, and all of the feelings that it would come up about her being reintroduced to his life. So that would be very successful to see as well. The result of the plan was he was able to move past his aggression and to find more positive outlets, and was able to be more communicative to her in session. They concluded with making sure that he was aware that he could come back at any time when he was ready. I wonder here if it would be appropriate to have those check-in sessions, which I'm sure somehow there is with the social worker that can be arranged, but because you don't want to have anything lingering if it's conclusive for the client, especially the child. But I think it was helpful in the end for him to hear that he could come back when he needed to. So this take more than 5 minutes, and I'm sorry, but thanks so much. Have a great day.